listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, November 4th, 2019, start of a brand new week. And for those of you watching over YouTube, you'll probably notice it's a very different environment over the weekend. I got my main computer back up and running. I've moved into the space that is supposed to be my office. There's still stuff on the ground. It's going to take a while to really get things ironed out. But I'm off that little laptop and back on my main machine. So I'm having to go back and relearn how I was doing everything on this program before I moved to the laptop and had to come up with all this other new stuff. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions here. So looking at the domestic political campaigns, Kamala Harris is already out there making excuses for why her campaign is failing. And in true liberal Democrat form, it's everybody's fault but her own. And apparently, in the space of this, actually made some racist comments, which took everybody by surprise, because the Democrats run on being, the anti-racist party. Anyway, Beto O'Rourke was confronted by a very angry woman up in Connecticut, and she basically blasted him on his idiotic gun policy. Not that that's going to matter much more, because Beto O'Rourke has now dropped out of the race for president. Everybody's wringing their hands saying, oh, he could have done it. He's ahead of President Trump by 10 points. That obviously has to be a lie. If Beto was leading President Trump in the polls, honest polls, by 10 points, the money would be pouring on in here. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, as you know, starting last week, somebody was putting out the rumor she's going to run third party. She's going to split the Democratic vote and just destroy everything. She's going to hand the White House back to Donald Trump. And Tulsi Gabbard, as part of her ongoing tweets feud with Hillary Clinton, says no, she's not running as a third-party candidate. She is still among the Democrat lineup. She's not quitting. She's having, trouble fundraising. There's a lot of people who do not like her, particularly in the military-industrial complex. Now, the latest news is, depending upon who you ask, the polls are all over the place, especially the ones in the corporate media. Same polls that told us back in 2016 that Hillary was winning by 95 points out of 100. And then, of course, she got absolutely clobbered here. But the latest poll, and this one is coming out of, see here, Investment Watch blog, is that support for impeachment is in decline. And frankly, I am not surprised at that. First of all, there doesn't seem to be a case there. Second of all, I'm sick and tired of the whining. I'm sick and tired of the Democrats just getting out there and whining, saying, impeachment, we've got to have impeachment. Oh, please give us impeachment. They got nothing to impeach him with. And the latest bombshell to hit the impeachment campaign, apparently this top secret CIA FBI informant, Stephen Halper, also served as a source for the Washington Post reporter David Ignatius, providing Russiagate smears. Which we all know that was all lies, and so he's probably lying again. Because that's how things work in Washington, D.C. If at first you don't succeed, lie again. Meanwhile, the corporate media is out there singing the praises of Stephen Halper, and the reason is very obvious. They were out there uncritically regurgitating his false claims for years, and they don't want to go back and say, well, yeah, this guy was a liar, and gee whiz, we're sorry we helped him lie to you. They did, because that's what they do. Now, the nation's leading impeachment lawyer, Ross Garber, is saying that Pelosi and Schiff's impeachment process is a path to disaster, not for Donald Trump, but for Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. It's kind of good to hear. Are they willing to self-immolate to please Hillary Clinton? Because more and more I'm thinking that this incredible push to get Trump at any costs originated with Hillary Clinton, this bitter old woman who cannot get over the fact that she's lost the race for the White House twice. And they're still talking back and forth. Will she try for a third time? More about that later. Over at the Michael Flynn hearing, the hearing has been canceled. The judge is reviewing the case and saying that the prosecutors might be in contempt of court. I think the greatest thing that could happen is all charges against Flynn get dismissed. He gets to sue for wrongful prosecution. And what's happened is Michael Flynn's lawyer, Sidney Powell, has reversed the process. It's not Flynn who's on trial any longer. It's the Obama Justice Department, how they behave. Just scumbags here. Meanwhile, Mueller and the deep state Department of Justice are out there denying allegations. The most recent response to General Flynn's attorneys: it's outrageous. How dare you? Which is one of the signs of propaganda. The Department of Justice was out there saying that there were no material changes to the Flynn FBI 302. There is evidence to the contrary there. Notice they're not saying there were no changes at all. They're saying there are no material changes, meaning, yeah, we may have made a few changes here, but none of them are important. Well, if they're not important, why did you make them? So the story has mutated one more time. The FBI is now saying, well, what happened is they lost the original 302 report from Michael Flynn, so they had to recreate it. But they're pretty sure they got it right. They're pretty sure that they got it right here. Okay. Right now, Schiff is trying to line up more whistleblowers because his current one is already self-immolating here. And so he's turned to a gentleman named Eric Ciaramella. Only it turns out he may be implicated in the upcoming FISA report. And all of a sudden, Eric has gotten cold feet. He's broken off negotiations. So he's now saying he will not testify. Democrats are just destroying themselves with this issue. Okay, article that came out of Investment Watch blog again. Apparently somebody conducted a poll saying who would people vote for? Who would the Democrats vote for if Hillary Clinton entered the 2020 race? And according to this poll, if you believe them, she's right behind Joe Biden. And supposedly, according to this poll, without Hillary in the race, Biden is way, way ahead. Well, we're hearing that Biden is going to drop out because he's just flat out run out of money. They're already out there trying to sell this idea. Yeah, Hillary could do it. She could really do it this time. Third time's a charm. She's worked so hard. She's such a sweet lady. She really deserves being president. She's a bitter woman. And if she were to win the presidency, she's angry with the American people who didn't vote her in the last two times. She will find some way to get even with us all. Think about that. Now, E. Jean Carroll is now suing Donald Trump for defamation after he claimed her sexual assault accusations against him were false. Well, burden of proof is on her. Okay, this, always believe the woman, #MeToo, that's nonsense. If the allegations are false, and that's a reasonable assumption, Trump has a right to say the allegations are false. And she's turning around and saying, claiming that my allegations are false represents defamation. and we're going to sue you. We're going to sue you for everything you've got. George Soros is out there admitting he's impeded by Trump in his program to turn the United States socialist. So at least he's out there admitting what it is he's trying to do. He wants to turn the United States socialist. Gosh darn, Trump is just getting in his way. All right, let's turn to the war zones here. And there's been a massive car bomb in northern Syria, killing 13, wounding 20. And the blast on Saturday ripped through a crowded market in Tal Abyad, recently occupied by Turkish-backed militant proxies. Now, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which is located in Great Britain, said the blast targeted pro-Turkey fighters and civilians were also among the dead. Basically, they're trying to sell the idea this is revenge on Turkey for selling out al-Baghdadi. But there are reasons to think this may not be true, because car bombing as a tactic is generally employed by the jihadist groups and not by the Kurds. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now. Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. It's been a while since I've called. I've been over in Africa for a little bit. So
oh, good.
Working offshore, helping BP. Anyway, I'm calling about is the Army and General Flynn. And besides the Army, they really need to get revenge for what the CIA and FBI did to General Flynn. They really also have to look at the judges in all this.
Yes.
I mean, this judge who's sitting on this case right now, this 302 issue, he's known about it for a long time. And he's part of this whole conspiracy. Same way with the FISA judges. I mean,
yes.
Where's the contempt? Where's the ordering of the FBI to get us these documents? They're slow walking to any kind of subpoenas or any kind of judicial orders. They're obviously part of the conspiracy. So I've realized, and I think most Americans realize, there's no justice in this country, and probably Barr's on the take because he's with Bush and 9/11. And I appeal to people in the Army, and after seeing the great injustice done to General Flynn and some of the other institutions that have been destroyed by this whole Russia conspiracy, and the president to take the gloves off and to start arresting these people, or worse, whether it's declaring martial law or a state of emergency. We have totally lost control of the justice in this country. And it's obvious that these judges need to be arrested also and tried, because this is a scam. I mean, what they've done to General Flynn is it was just the 302s were changed, but it wasn't material. I mean, the judge right now should arrest the agents involved in this and disbar the lawyers who are blocking this and allowed Mr. Flynn, General Flynn, a general of the United States Army, to be framed and railroaded and to have his career destroyed. I mean, where's the anger, though? I got to say, I can't believe that the Army and the military are just sitting around letting their people be. There's kind of a quiet thing in Washington where you're supposed to respect each other's institutions, and the judiciary and the judges are showing no respect for one of the oldest institutions in American history, the one started by George Washington, the United States Army. So my appeal is to members of the Army to let your power be known. And I don't mean that in any kind of illegal way, but in a way that the other establishment and the other institutions of government realize that this cannot stand, that we want justice for General Flynn, and we want to see punishment for these people. These judges are really particularly vile because they're the ones that should have put an end to this 2 years ago. And to sit there and allow the FBI this whole thing on 302s, it's sickening. Why is it even taking this damn long? What more evidence does this damn judge need? He just does want to protect the embarrassment against the FBI. And he wants to protect the Mueller probe and the whole Russia thing. It's such a disgrace. Well, anyway, I'm sorry I've been hot on this. The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick was when I was over there in Africa, I heard about Don Jr. saying he hopes it's Hillary that goes against Trump because that way Hillary can, Trump can beat her. Well, I think that's very disgraceful. When I heard it, I lost a lot of respect for Mr. Trump's son because I don't want to see Hillary anywhere near any chance, even if it's like less than 1% chance of being president of the United States. I don't want to see her, and any real true patriot should look at her like the plague, and you don't want to even allow the concept of her being near the presidency. Now, if Mr. Trump's son thinks that, it'll make his father's victory easier, that's like really selfish against the country. He should worry about the country more and his father's reelection less.
It's also naive. Hillary's going to cheat again like she did in 2016. The Democrats are flooding this country with illegal immigrants and getting them registered to vote, even though they're not supposed to vote. And, Hillary thinks that the ends justify the means, and therefore she's going to cheat.
Well, absolutely. She's a monster, and that's why he should know better that she shouldn't be even, contemplated as like, you shouldn't be glad that she's, or hoping that she's going to run against, Trump, even if you think that makes it easier for your father to win. You're putting the country at such serious risk. She's such a monster.
Yes.
When I heard that, it really sickened me because he should know better. He's a lot smarter than me, I guess, or maybe he's not smarter than me, but he knows a lot more of the inside scoop. So what's going on with that? I mean, he should be ashamed of himself, and it just shows that he's really selfish and that he doesn't really care about the country. He's more interested in his father being reelected, and that's kind of disgraceful.
Well, something I've learned in my many years on this planet is being rich or having political power does not mean that person is automatically somehow smarter or better than the rest of us. And that's just the reality. In fact, looking at what's going on over at the impeachment inquiry, they're making some really stupid mistakes.
Oh, well, the whole thing is stupid on the surface, but the fact of the matter, Mike, is the way they've silenced the media and the way the media is just a parrot for the deep state. I think they realize that they have to defeat Trump at all costs, and the truth doesn't matter. And really, to tell you the truth, when you talk to most Americans, the truth really doesn't matter. And when you talk to most Americans now, they're emotional. They don't know how to reason anymore, the people on the left. And the fight is going to be for the middle and the independents, and they're going to appeal to, against Trump is the women, and particularly, the white women in the suburbs. That's what their hope is.
Yes.
But they do, it doesn't matter that everything's a lie anymore because, as a 9/11 truther and, like Vince Foster and all that stuff, they bury the truth and they call you names if you bring up the truth. And, it's like, I can see like how they're, totally thinking this through and thinking we can't afford to have Trump be reelected. They're pulling all stops, and they figure since they own the media outright, and Trump really hasn't protected the alternative media. That's just on Trump. I've said since last year that if Trump loses this election, it's really on him. He's got the whole deep state, Barr information and Epstein to destroy them with. He still has a bit of an alternative media, but he hasn't stood up for it. I'm banned from Facebook. I can't post here and there anymore. I've been pretty much silenced, and I'm just a little guy here in Tennessee, but a lot of people have been being silenced, and their YouTubes are, I noticed from just surfing around on YouTube how much different it is,
Yes.
And you look into it and you find out, like, a lot of my favorites, I have a hard time finding them anymore. I got to look around. I can't go to, like, I subscribe to their channels, and I have to do an end run to find them because they're being blocked.
Okay, well, Joe, I got to let you go here. We got to take a break for commercials. We've got more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I agree with the last caller, the frustration of Donald Trump. You know, he's good at giving threats, but I think what he needs to do is show a show of force and actually do a follow-through with what he says. And going back to what just happened recently with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he's threatened to withhold federal aid to California for the fire damage. And, of course, Gavin Newsom is blaming Donald Trump for the fires. And in the reverse, Donald Trump's come back saying, well, you have not managed the forest correctly. That's your problem. You cause this every year. Fires, fires, fires. That's your problem for mismanagement of the forestry. And but, you know, if he's not going to be able to do that. It's impossible to hold the federal aid for these fires. It's impossible. I mean, but strategically, politically, if you think about it, California will never, ever, ever go Republican again. It's never going to happen. The Ronald Reagan days of Republicans, it's never going to come back to California. It's done. The illegal immigration has taken over. Whites are being squeezed out. People are leaving the state. That's why I left. But
Yes.
It would be nice for him to follow through with a threat. And he could have started that from the very beginning with the federal immigration law, in enforcing federal immigration law. And those governors who refused to follow federal immigration laws and said, we're going to consider being a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state, would have been nice for him to step right up and say, that's not going to happen, and send the authorities.
Well, the big argument, though, is who's in authority here. And this gets back to the supremacy clause of the Constitution, where in theory, the federal government trumps the state governments. And the state governments are clearly in violation of Title VIII. And you're right, Trump should have done something. He let this get out of control. I mean,
Yes.
as soon as he came into the Oval Office, the first thing he should have done was start slapping down these people and say, there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats and the liberals played the human rights thing to the T to say this is all humanitarian. We have to allow these people in when we know the lies about why people were coming into this country wasn't humanitarian. They weren't coming because they were fleeing their country from the drug lords or anything like that. It was simply they want a better life. They want a better life. That's why they're coming here. And I'm okay with immigration, checks and balances and allowing people in if, first of all, they meet the criteria and they're not felons and other things. But, the thing got out of control. And he should have been more like Ronald Reagan when he took on Patco when they went on strike. And he said, get back to work. And they didn't get back to work. He fired them all. And It would have been nice to see a little bit of Reagan backbone with Donald Trump from the very beginning to send a message, because had he sent that message right away quickly of what kind of president he was going to be, a forceful, strong president, I think the Democrats would have said, you know what, we're not going to tackle this guy. We can't. He's already shown he's a president with spine, with character. We can't go up against this guy. He's just way too strong. And he would have had the support of the American people on a whole. He would have had the support of most Americans on following federal immigration law. Nobody's going to debate that. Only a small percentage would debate that. And those are the ones who have something to gain from it. That's the illegals and the Democrats who want them as voters.
You're absolutely right. And I think the majority of Americans don't have a problem with legal immigration. I don't.
Right.
It's the illegal part, and the fact that there are no filters, if you will, on the people who are crossing our border. And as a result, we're being flooded by MS-13 gang members and drug dealers and who knows what all else out there. And if you'll notice, street crime has just been soaring along with the population of the illegal immigrants.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats are trying to make illegal in as far as immigration. It's kind of like jaywalking, Well, it's a crime, but it's really not that big a crime, and we really should look the other way on this. But it's purely benefiting the Democrats to have illegal immigration come in and flood this country, clearly benefiting them all the way.
Yes, absolutely.
That's it for me, Mike. Have a great show. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you. And we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
It might benefit them now, but in the long run, it's going to crush this country down like nothing like it's doing in Europe. It's going to bring it crumbling down because the country's broke already. There's no way we can sustain bringing more people in that are on some kind of assistance.
Yes.
And, and it ruins your fabric of society eventually. And it's already started, like in California. I mean, it's like
our national debt is now officially above 23 trillion with a T dollars. Okay, well, listen, Dustin, stay on the line. We've got to take another break for commercials. Don't hang up. We'll come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're on the line with Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, take it away.
Yeah, Mike, on with Trump. Like, see, the problem is he said he was going to leave Syria, and then he moves troops to Iraq and Saudi Arabia, and then he goes back into Syria to take their oil, and he tells everybody he's going to. So, is he doing that to let everybody know in the world what we actually really do? Or is he doing that because, like, if you're a U.S. soldier or a family of a U.S. soldier, you look at that and you say, well, he didn't bring anybody home. He didn't do anything. So I keep saying he's not doing anything.
They're all back there where they started.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The same with the tariffs. And the tariffs, what's changed? We're going to make a deal with the Chinese. But the deal is to go back from the beginning because they put remember they stopped buying the produce from our farmers. Yep. So nothing's changed. It's like we're at zero where we started. So if Trump gets in, what's going to change then, Mike? You know what I mean? It's It seems like it's a game, and it's just
Yeah, it is.
there's nothing.
It is. It's called keeping the American people dumb, stupid, and imagining that they're happy while the nation gets looted and plundered. What Trump is doing to Syria right now is what American corporations are doing to Americans right now. And the whole point of politics and the corporate media is to keep reassuring you everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. You don't need to revolt. You don't need to have a revolution because really you're so much better off than the people living in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, if Trump put somebody in charge, in the Joint Chiefs of Staff, like that would actually, like the guy McGregor on Tucker, like to bring the troops actually home from Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan, this would throw a monkey wrench in all these people that's going after him because it would throw them back years. But he's not doing it.
No, he's not
doing it. And if he really wanted to throw a monkey wrench at these people, he would do that. Because they would be back to what? Zero, where they started, right?
Yep.
And it'd be hard to get back in after all those troops and equipment were moved out. So I don't know what Trump's game is, but Mike, as we speak, no infrastructure bill. The borders are wide open. I was reading on the Drudge Report a couple days ago. Immigrant families at record amount coming over the border. Nobody's stopping them. Nobody's doing anything. Nope. So I just don't see any hope for anything anymore. It sounds like a Debbie Downer, but it's just because what I see with my own eyes is nothing getting done. Like, what's Bill Barr doing? Absolutely nothing. What did Jeff Sessions do? Absolutely nothing. Rudy Giuliani's talking up a big game, but at the end of the day, none of them is going to do nothing because they're all aligned with the elements of the establishment. Like Giuliani is, even Flynn. I don't know Flynn's personably, but I mean, it seems like everybody who's in Washington D.C. the Beltway area is just utterly unfixable and corrupt. And that's the way I look at it.
Well, they don't see a reason to change anything, and any kind of significant change or upset runs the risk of collapsing the system as a whole. When you were a kid, did you ever have an experience where you started running downhill and you're running faster and faster and it feels great how fast you can go, and all of a sudden you realize you can't stop? And all you can do is run as hard as you can to keep from falling down. That, I think, is a good analogy for what's going on with our federal government right now. They can't stop what they're doing. They're in too deep, and all they can do is just keep on doing what they've been doing in the hope that they can avoid a collapse. But it's only a matter of time.
And going back to what Joe from Tennessee, Joe, there's no justice. It's just us. The judges has nothing to do with justice. It's about politics and factional fighting, and these people don't follow the law. They follow what they're told to do, unfortunately. So the judges are all bought off, unfortunately, also, And that's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Sovereign Man. Aloha, Sav. What's on your mind today? Sovereign Man, are you there? Nope, I guess we lost him here. Okay, the Pentagon is expanding their permanent Africa presence. I bet a lot of you didn't even know we had an Africa presence. We have a separate command, AFRICOM. Sounds suspiciously close to the Nazis' Afrika Korps. Rami, we will drive Montgomery across the Sahara Desert. Anyway, the Pentagon is expanding their permanent Africa presence with a $110 million drone base in Niger, which I understand is already operational. By the way, there is a story floating about that the United States has decided that the next generation aircraft carrier won't have any aircraft, that they will in fact be submarines capable of launching and recovering drones, an idea that actually goes back to the Japanese in World War II, who actually had a submersible aircraft carrier. So let's talk about what's going on over in Syria. Assad, tongue firmly planted in cheek, was thanking Donald Trump for showing the world what the United States really is, and basically saying the United States is just pillaging Syria's oil. That's it. There's no other word for it. They're going on in and they're pillaging. And everybody's out there trying to talk about this so-called Syrian Constitutional Committee. While they yammer on and yammer on, the United States is sucking the oil out from Syria, putting it in trucks and sending it outside Syria for processing and sale. Story out of Global Research up in Canada saying there's no ceasefire in northern Syria. The Pentagon has stated they will use overwhelming force to maintain U.S. control over the Syrian oil. Excuse me, a little bit of a sneeze there. So everything the United States is doing in Syria right now is a war crime under the UN Charter and international law. Trump has turned us into a criminal rogue nation. Of course, he had a lot of help, not just him. He did have a lot of help. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones here to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, how does anyone know that the United States hasn't been doing this all along?
Well, actually, Friday there was a story that said, yes, indeed, it's been the U.S. all along that's smuggling out Syrian oil. Of course, if you look at the idea that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the U.S. were all working together, then by default, any oil smuggling that ISIS was doing was for the benefit of the United States.
Yeah. Well, we already know the United States created ISIS.
Yes.
And they created Al-Qaeda.
Yep.
The United States probably went in and took all of Libya's gold.
Probably.
I don't think this is anything new, Mike. I mean, I just think that Donald Trump is forcing the hand. If you were to walk into the United States as president, and you would make actually a really good one, wouldn't you look at all this stuff and say, what the hell's going on here?
I certainly would. And from the way Trump talked during the 2016 campaign, one would have reasonably assumed that he was pretty much clued into what was going on. But as soon as he got elected, boom, went over to the other side, became part of the system.
He may have been part of the system the whole time.
Maybe.
Or he really didn't know how bad it was.
I tend to think the latter.
We're just speculating.
Because he's never been treated like he's an insider.
No, of course not. He never will be. I think they don't have anything on him, like anything real, in order to force him to be an insider.
If they had
like
something real on Donald Trump,
politicians.
there would have been no Christopher Steele dossier. There would have been no Russiagate. They would have gone with what they had that was solid. I mean, the fact that there's been so much fakery around Trump's removal from office tells us they couldn't find anything. And so they concocted this Russiagate story. That fell apart. Now they're trying to figure out a way to impeach him. That's falling apart. And all I can say is to any of Donald Trump's security people who are listening to this broadcast, drink a lot of coffee. Make sure you're wearing your Kevlar, because the next step up from this is they're going to try and take him out.
His third year, Mike. When was I actually predicted this about three and a half years ago. I said John F. Kennedy got shot in, I think it was November, right, in Dallas.
Yes.
In his third year.
Yes.
We're there. We're like right here, Mike. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it wouldn't surprise me if it were to happen. It really wouldn't.
Well, the big question is going to be, who are they going to
no
try
one
and
would do a
blame
thing.
for it?
Jeffrey Epstein.
I mean, during the JFK
Right?
assassination, of course, the original plan was to frame Cuba for it, but Lyndon Johnson, who knew about this threat from the Khrushchev's nuclear missiles, said, no, we got to reframe it. It was just one crazed lone nut. We don't blame Cuba for it. We don't blame the Soviet Union for it. It was just Lee Harvey Oswald. He went wacko, batty brain, and shot our president.
Yep. That's how these things always happen. The lone nut gunman with the TM, the small little TM in a circle at the end, above it all.
Yes.
So, yeah, and anyway, yeah, it's all falling apart. And let me ask you a question, Mike, and
sure,
just real quick, because I don't want this to take forever. If you were in Donald Trump's position, seeing all this around you and seeing how they react, wouldn't you just be a little bit afraid?
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump has a family, a pretty big family.
Yes.
Right? And the media and the politicians have already made it quite clear that everyone is fair game. So I actually kind of feel sorry for the guy. I really do.
Well, I don't, because he did want the job. Okay, and
yes,
he's been a bit of a disappointment. I definitely disagree with this idea that everybody in Trump's family is fair game. Now, obviously, Jared Kushner being a player, it's okay to talk about him, but leave Barron alone, leave Melania alone. They're off limits. Even the mafia says the family is off limits. This is business between men only, and you leave the. Yeah, and Ivanka, she's becoming a player too. But this idea that everybody's fair game.
Yeah, but you can't just go in and just start. If someone puts themselves in a position where they're out there, like you're just saying, you kind of put yourself in that position. So, but these people that are innocent, I mean, it's just, you don't go after innocent people.
No, you don't.
People do, but that's just, you shouldn't.
Now, so what we've had here, what really happened, I mean, we got the story about Chelsea Clinton actually being fathered by Webb Hubble, and we sat on it. I said, it's nobody's business. Now, of course, that Chelsea Clinton is becoming a public person, the story becomes relevant.
Yep. And she's had plastic surgery in order to alter her appearance.
Yes, to
de-web. Something right there. I mean, who does that? Oh, yeah. Anyways, Mike, it was nice talking to you. I'm glad. I see you're setting up you're in your own room, your widescreen now. Things are looking good.
Yep. Yeah, we're getting there. There's a lot more to do, but we're up and running. We're alive, and as of tomorrow, the readers' letters will be back online as well.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate your time. You have a good night.
Thank you very much. Good night to you too as well. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, as I mentioned to that caller, the U.S. troops that Donald Trump took out of Syria are now back in Syria, exactly where they started. It's like they got put on a bus and driven out to the Mediterranean, have a day at the beach, but you're going back to Syria. So I'm sure he's going to, during the campaign next year, he's going to talk about when he pulled the troops out of Syria. It really didn't happen. It was an illusion only. Meanwhile, Russia is claiming that the U.S. is smuggling $30 million worth of oil out of Syria every month under Trump's criminal plan. Frankly, I think it's an underestimate. And it's not like the United States needs the oil. It's about keeping it out of the hands of Bashar al-Assad. So we can't use the money from that oil to rebuild Syria after all the bombing. It's really kind of petty vindictiveness if you think about it. Anyway, the U.S. military is sending thousands of troops, meaning your kids, and even B-1 bombers into Saudi Arabia to counter Iran, to counter their nuclear threat. What nuclear threat? Nobody's ever found that Iran was even considering, let alone building nuclear weapons. Well, they won't think about it now because we're gonna surround my troops in B-1 bombers. What a waste of personnel and money. Okay, now a little bit of good news. The United States and South Korea have canceled a joint military air drill. This is for the second straight year, hoping this will help ease tensions. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just what I please.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Sovereign Man is back on the line. So take it away, Sav.
Hey, Mike. My original comment was towards, I guess, a national debt. I just want to let you know I don't have any national debt. Okay? But actually, the other subject I want to talk about. Have you heard of the Barron Trump series? It's called, Barron Trump, and another novel is The Last President. Have you seen those? They're two books from the late 1800s. Hello? Uh-oh. Am I carrying the show? Can you hear me?
I'm saying, can you be more specific?
Oh, okay. The Barron Trump novels are two children's novels. One in 1889 and 1893, the American author and lawyer Ingersoll Lockwood. It says they remained obscure until 2017 when they received media attention for perceived similarities between their protagonist and the U.S. President, Donald Trump. So, I mean, they're interesting reads. They're kind of like some people claim that Trump or that has something to do with time travel. They're just interesting reads.
It's a little out there.
I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, it is. It is out there. But these are books that were written in the late 1800s, Mike. And it's really ironic how a lot of the things in these books have came about, and they correspond. You should do some research on it.
It's interesting because about a year before the sinking of the Titanic, somebody in Great Britain published a novel called The Titan, which was basically about a super luxurious ship on its maiden voyage sinking. So, there's only so many events out there that are imaginable, and every once in a while somebody will write something that does seem very prescient, but it's usually just coincidental.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes coincidence and fact are one and the same. So I don't really believe in the coincidental things, though. Just like the Matrix, that was written by a woman. I know that you know that, don't you? It wasn't written by the Wachowski brothers.
Oh, they're merely directed.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there was a lot of different things, Simulation, Simulacra, and a few other books that were incorporated into the movie. But that the Matrix was written by, I think, Sophia Stewart, I think her name is. Is that correct?
I don't recall the name off the top of my head, but what's the point you're trying to make? Because we're almost out of time this hour.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's an interesting read, and if people have some time, they should look into it.
All right, well, Sovereign, we're going to have to let you go. We've got to take a break for station identification, and we've got other callers waiting on the line after these few words.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877 928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And if you're wondering why I keep looking out the window, which is right behind this monitor, it's because there's this magnificent bald eagle that's just circling and circling way down low. And yeah, I don't know if that has any meaning to it whatsoever, unless it poos all over my back porch, and then I would say that's a negative vote of confidence. Anyway, let's get back to the phones here. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, Mike. Mike, I want to comment more about the Syria thing, about the oil.
Yes.
So far, I've only heard Tulsi Gabbard really jump on Trump for this. She was on I listened to a radio show yesterday on XM.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, he's shaming this country. He's using our troops. I forget what she said, mercenaries, I think. I say
yes.
Rent a cop to guard that oil. And she really put, and she got very little argument back from the lady. I think it was Fox News, Maria something or another.
Yeah.
Italian last name. But anyway, this is an impeachable offense to me. Not the nonsense they're trying to impeach him on. But you notice either the Democrats or the Republicans are going after him on this. And Tulsi now has a bill to try to get all the troops out of Syria. And she's got no
she introduced
co-signers.
that. It's going to go absolutely nowhere. But it's going to force everybody to go on the record whether they support what Trump is doing or not. As far as the foreign press, they're excoriating Donald Trump, the White House, and the U.S. in general over what is seen as a naked act of plundering of Syria's natural resources.
Goes to show you how what hypocrites people like AOC and Ilya Omad are. You know, Omad makes so like she cares about the Palestinians. I don't know if she really does or doesn't, but she obviously doesn't care about these Arab countries like Syria because they're not radical enough for her. Okay, she probably wants the terrorists to win. So she's a complete hypocrite. I don't trust the woman at all. And AOC, another one. People are all, you know, there's nobody in there that's any good in our government.
Nope.
I have hopes for Tulsi now, but, you know, like I said, the odds are so stacked up against her, it's incredible. I mean, both parties don't like her. I just don't know anymore. I mean, you know, I don't know what happened to this country. You think the people would be outraged. I really believe
it should be.
I really believe the worst thing this country ever did was do away with the draft. If you had a draft, they wouldn't dare do this kind of stuff. People would be much more enlightened, much more alert. There would be riots in the street if they tried these wars with if you had a draft. There's no way they would get away with this stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Do you agree with me on that, Mike, or what?
Well, they got rid of the draft because it was unpopular with the American people. We'd lost in Vietnam, and
I know
the U.S. tried to reposition itself as, okay, maybe we made a mistake there. And then, of course, we started getting back into more wars. And I remember George Bush getting up there and saying that, you know, we are now free from the curse of Vietnam, which is not entirely true.
People started forgetting just how horrible that war was, how worthless that war was, how many of our troops died because of that war, how many Vietnamese we killed. People just started forgetting about that by then. And they bought into these wars again, and they continue to buying into them. Or they're too stupid, or too drunk, or too much on drugs to understand what's going on today, or they're
Well,
hooked up on circuses like the stupid World Series or the Super Bowl or other nonsense like that. That's the problem. You know,
it's
If you get
not
this really
entirely impossible that, well, we know that fluoride is a tranquilizer, and it's in our drinking water. And maybe that's what's keeping the American people from saying, I'm mad as heck and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Well, also the junk food their feed, there's so many people eat, all the chemical laden GMO garbage. That's also not doing any good. It's dumbing people down, I think, making them fat, lazy, and stupid. And I'm afraid that might be it. Meanwhile, Russia's going the other way. Russia's getting off the alcohol. The people are getting a lot more leaner and fit. Their military is awesome. They're they're ready to do what they have to do and defend their country, not to police the world. And they're a lean, mean machine ready to do that. Meanwhile, like I said, we can't even recruit the people we need to try to keep this empire in line.
Oh, they've lowered the standards so much. They're just letting just about anybody into the military these days.
Look at this fat slob colonel. By the way, I got a YouTube of my own, and plus I made a Facebook thing, meme about that. And this guy, obviously, the biggest scandal concerning Colonel Windman is that he's that they're ignoring their own physical fitness standards, and he probably, I don't know, they're passing him through, I guess, at the PT test. Okay, a fat slob like that shouldn't even be in the military anymore. Okay.
Yes.
On top of that, he's a neocon. He's I don't know what's wrong with some of these Jews that came in, that recently came in from the old Soviet Union. They were refugees from the old Soviet Union. They came in, I think, around the 1980s, like he did. Okay, don't they understand that it was the Red Army, the Russian Red Army, that saved so many Jews? Actually, a lot of Jews joined the Red Army. They fought, and they were proud to be in the Red Army. They fought very well, and it was the Red Army more than anybody else that defeated the Nazis.
Yes.
There's a clown like that. Remember that. The same thing with Max Boot. He's another Soviet Jew refugee. Okay, don't these clowns understand that? I mean, are they that ignorant of history, even the history of the country they come from, and the people that they, it was the Soviets, it was the Red Army that actually broke open those and freed those concentration camps. Most of them, at least. There were a couple in the West, but most of them were in the East, and it was mostly liberated by the Red Army. And yet, this clown, and not only him, a lot of them hate Russia, even though Russia's not even communist anymore. It just goes on and on.
It's just a convenient enemy. Governments cannot keep their people afraid and under control without some kind of an enemy, even if that enemy is imaginary.
What's with these Soviet Jews that are coming over, and Gary Kasparov, I think he's another one,
Mm-hmm.
I understand he grew up in the Soviet Union. He may not have liked it. It was not anti-Semitic or anti-anything else. It was anti-religion. That's the whole thing. They did not want people practicing religion there. It was an mostly atheistic society. It wasn't a matter that they were racist or anti-Semite or anti-anybody else. That was the way the society worked at the time. Today, it's not the case anymore. Putin is a Christian today. Okay,
yes.
And the Orthodox Church has a lot of say, and Islam and Judaism, all of them are treated very well today in Russia. Those Buddhism, those are the main religions. So I don't know what these people's problems are, Mike. I'll take the rest of your call offline, okay?
All right. Well, Mark, thanks an awful lot for the call. Again, it's all about keeping control, and the best way to keep control over a population is to make them afraid of something or somebody, even if you have to make it up out of thin air. And that's where a lot of the current discord is coming from. We see it all the time with, the Muslim bashing that's going on in the corporate media, the anti-white rhetoric that we're seeing all over the place. It's just trying to fan up conflict because people under conflict are easier to control and exploit. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Jim in New York, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. I think Mark from North Carolina stole my thunder. I think Trump should be impeached. I called last week. I said he should be impeached, but not for the reasons that the fake media says. He should be impeached for bombing Syria twice and now stealing their oil and bragging about it. I mean, it's appalling. I can't imagine a president just coming out and saying, oh, I like oil. I'm just going to take Syria's oil. So at this point,
Well,
I'm tired.
let's be fair. Back when we were in Iraq, President Bush was out there saying to the American people, don't worry, this war isn't going to cost you anything. We're going to fund it with Iraq's oil. So even he was saying the same thing. We're going to go on in there, take the oil, and all will be well. Of course, that didn't work out too well.
Well, Bush also should have been impeached. So
I'll agree with you on that one. Right now, if I had any investment capital, I'd be going long on tar and feathers.
Yeah. But, you know, Trump, I've had it with him. It's the Kushner and Ivanka administration.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm sick of people saying, oh, would you rather have Hillary? Well, no, I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean I can't criticize Trump. No, enough
You're
is
absolutely
enough.
right.
He's coming out,
You're absolutely correct.
coming out and saying we're going to take Syria's oil. We're stealing their oil from them. A country that's been decimated, 500,000 dead, and it's just appalling. And I've done with Trump, and I hope they impeach him. Of course, they won't impeach him for the right reasons. They'll impeach him for Ukraine Gate or something nonsense. But I don't care. If they impeach him, you know, at least with Pence, you'll get the face of evil staring right in your face. And, you know, Trump has a likable personality, and that's kind of the problem. People should see through his garbage. This is it. It's just coming out. We're going to take Syria's oil. Like, that's okay? It's unbelievable, Mike. I can't believe it. What do you think?
Well, obviously, to our 21st century sensibilities, it sounds absolutely horrific. But go back and study the early history of the British Empire, and that was their express attitude. We're going to make the world England. And we're going to go out to all these other places, and we're just going to take what we want, because it was the end of the age of conquest, the age of empires, and it was considered acceptable back there. Now, Trump is trying to take the United States back to that same mindset, that might makes right, you know, the end of Camelot, and that, yeah, if we have the ability to go on out and steal another country's resources, there's no reason for us not to do it.
Yeah, it's very disturbing for a president to just come out and openly admit, well, we're going to take the oil. You know, it's disturbing. And you notice the quote liberal media hasn't said a word, because they're for it. They like Trump doing this. They're talking about you know, identity politics and gay rights. But notice they won't attack Trump on stealing other countries' oil blatantly. So I just find it appalling. I'm done with Trump. I won't even give him a second thought. I hope they impeach him. You know,
well,
to me, he's
the
just another
problem here
puppet.
is, as horrific as stealing Syria's oil may be, it would not be an impeachable offense, because for many Americans, that's kind of his job, to go on out there and, you know, be commander-in-chief of the military and say, you will all go over here and you will do thus and such.
Yes. Yeah, well, this has been going on before we were born. So, no, I know that. But I'm just saying, if we had a moral, righteous country, Trump would be impeached because of this. And on that note, thanks for taking my call, Mike, and have a good day.
All right, thanks an awful lot. I think overall, the United States is a moral and righteous country. It just happens to be under the control of an absolutely ruthless criminal government. Okay, phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to the international news here. Netanyahu is accusing Hamas of firing rockets at Israel from Gaza. And Friday said a total of 10 rockets had been fired from Gaza, including 8 projectiles that had been intercepted by the Iron Dome air defense system. And that had to be really costly because normally it takes several of those Iron Dome missiles to bring down one of the Hamas Gaza missiles because of the way it weaves around here. So, but again, Netanyahu is struggling to keep control of Israel. And again, Netanyahu and previous Israeli prime ministers ruled the Israelis by keeping them constantly afraid of terrorism, of the return of the Nazis, of ovens and more Holocausts. And it's all a fantasy. That's what they use to keep control. And that's why they protect those fantasies as hard as they do. Nobody's going to believe there's a threat of a new Holocaust if it turns out the last one was just made up for political reasons. Protests are rocking Baghdad and Beirut. Iran is starting to dig on in because they know they're next for one of these destabilization operations. And the governments in Iraq and Lebanon are literally staggering under huge waves of public protest. Powerful factions loyal to Iran are pushing to quash political upheaval. So the whole world seems to be angry with the rest of the world here. What can I tell you? And it isn't just the Rohingya. The Myanmar are now attacking Buddhists in Rakhine State too. Now, have you ever had to hear somebody say, watch out for the Buddhists? But apparently it is a big problem. And during last month's Thadring Yut, the second most important annual festival of the Buddhist calendar, it's tied to the full moon. And instead, everything got put on curfew. Over in China, protesters vandalized Xinhao office, public property, during a night of violence. And they're not letting up. Even with all the military going around there, they're just absolutely not letting up. Now, are all these protests covert U.S. destabilization? Could be. Are some of them genuine organic masses are simply fed up with how they're being treated? Possibly. All the way back when they first started talking about the New World Order and globalism, and I said the effort to create a single global political structure would in fact create the political climate for a single global revolution, and that may well be happening right now. All right, getting into weapons and things like that, over at Asia Times, they're saying, has China won the stealth war? And apparently China has now announced they can track the F-22 Raptor stealth fighter, which is supposed to be America's tip of the spear. Now, they're not the first ones to do so. A Russian pilot got a radar lock on one of those aircraft. They're not as stealthy as we've all been told. But according to the Global Times, China's new meter wave radar can be deployed on vehicles, on land, and warships, creating a dense web that gives hostile stealth aircraft nowhere to hide. I think it was a few months ago I said, stealth is designed to work against a narrow range of radar frequencies, and the lower frequency radars can cut through that. Over at the economic news, JP Morgan has poured $130 billion with a B of excess cash into bonds in a major shift. And we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about the economic news here. We're talking about how JP Morgan has poured $130 billion with a B of excess cash into bonds in a major shift. And the upshot of it is the bank is acting like the next recession is here. Everything the bank is doing points that way. And of course, the economy is going to be politicized. The Democrats would love for the economy to crash because they're going to blame Trump for it. Oh, the economy was absolutely fine when Obama left office. It was in swell shape. And if it's crashing now, it's all the fault of that evil Donald Trump. So lynch him, lynch him, lynch him. Apparently, Australia, China, Lebanon, Sweden, and the U.S. are all having major bank issues this last week. System is definitely under strain here. Over in Great Britain, baby goods retailer Mothercare, sort of their equivalent of our Babies R Us, has called in administrators, which is British speak for gone into bankruptcy, and they figure it's going to cost about 2,500 jobs. So Mothercare said the 79 British stores were not capable of achieving a sufficient level of profitability, and that so far it had failed to find a buyer. Now, they will continue to operate as normal for the time being. Part of it may be, obviously the decline in disposable discretionary income among the population. The other part is that birth rates for white people especially are in decline. Another article out of Investment Watch blog, 9,000 stores have closed so far this year as the global economy collapsing. And it says the central banks are just going to buy up all the assets. They can just create all the money they need out of thin air and they will own it all. Part of the design plan, I think. Over in Japan, Microsoft's Japan division tried an experiment last August. It's called the Work-Life Choice Challenge, summer 2019, in which they trialed a 4-day work week for their entire workforce. 4 10-hour days, and then you get Friday off along with Saturday and Sunday. Productivity went up 40%. Something for all those work them until they drop people to think about. Now, China is definitely out there thinking about the future. And China has already created 12 free trade zones, 6 more on the way. And now China is saying they want to set up a $10 trillion economic zone literally in outer space, space between the Earth and the moon. And they're saying that this will generate $10 trillion worth of services per year. I'm not exactly sure what the revenue stream is going to be or how they're going to capitalize it, but at least they're taking it seriously as space becomes more and more privatized. All right, getting on out to California. I feel sorry for those people in California. They've had all these fires, all of these blackouts. They've literally gone back to medieval times, where at night the only illumination is coming from those fires. And now, of course, they're getting an increase in seismic activity as well. So it's rough out there. Now, Trump is vowing no more federal aid to California as the fires continue to burn. And part of it probably has to do with Gavin Newsom's attempting to say that somehow or other, Donald Trump is responsible for all this. It's not our fault. Don't blame the liberal Democrats. We did nothing. It's all Donald Trump. We're busy faking up photos of him running around the forest with a Bic lighter setting these fires. And as soon as we get something decent, we will share it with you here. Apparently, 3 fires in Lafayette and Martinez have now been confirmed as started by PG&E lines. Because the money all got spent on things like illegal immigrants. So the California governor is threatening to take over PG&E, and I think it's long overdue. This rush for deregulation and privatization has led to disasters all over the place, not just California. Look at what's happening with Boeing. So the Californians are angry at politicians and PG&E, and it's getting worse as the wildfires and blackouts continue. Victor Davis Hanson is out there saying Democrats have turned California into a problem-plagued, burning nightmare. Anyway, getting on back to Boeing here, American Airlines, United Airlines, and Southwest Airlines are saying they're not going to put the Boeing 737 MAX back to the skies, even if the FAA says it's good to go, because of the nuke scandal with the wing cracks. We'll be right back after these few words.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Rick in Arizona. Aloha, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, your wife had a cataract surgery, and you said that you used a glass lens. Is that different than the regular conventional protocol? Is it new technology, or what was it?
I don't know how new it is, but that's apparently the standard protocol now is when they take out the lens that's blurred and cataract, they replace it with a glass lens. Now, the glass lens, of course, isn't flexible. So after she has the next eye done, she's still going to have like close-up glasses to work with. But she says the improvement in her vision is just amazing. She didn't realize how bad it had gotten.
Yeah, I'm sure. It gets bad slowly, and then all of a sudden you get used to it, and then all of a sudden you can't see very well anymore. Now you got to take it out, and all the colors are back.
Yes.
I got one question about space travel they got over in China. Mike, you got to bring your own air into space, and that's why I'm always suspicious about space peddlers. you can generate oxygen out of water with a submarine, but when you go to space, you have to bring your own air. And I'm wondering, how have they been doing that? Like in the space station, what are they using for fresh air, and how are they getting rid of the carbon dioxide? And what happens if a valve breaks on their air supply? I mean, you have to bring your own air in space because it's a vacuum, and you cannot generate any oxygen out of nothing.
Well,
How is it done?
As far as the carbon dioxide is concerned, that's scrubbed from the internal atmosphere, usually using lithium hydroxide. And to generate new oxygen, the current standard method is you keep hauling tanks of new oxygen up to orbit. But at some point, somebody's going to figure out an energy efficient way of taking the carbon dioxide and separating the carbon and releasing the oxygen back into the cabin.
Yeah, but there's I don't know. Well, anyways, I think that until they fix the air problem, I think space peddlers are lying to us because it's too dangerous and too vital. I mean, without air, dude, you got 3 minutes at best. You got 3 days without water. You got 2 weeks without food. Without air, you're dead.
Well, first of all, you're forgetting that the oxygen inside a spacecraft is more than just what's inside your lungs. It's what's inside the spacecraft as a whole. And depending upon the size of the spacecraft, and the ISS is very large, they could probably get by for several days while, either repairs or more oxygen is being sent on up there. Plus, in the case of the ISS, it's a redundant system. Several of the modules have their own oxygen systems.
Well, an oxygen system, you cannot create oxygen out of nothing. That's what I don't understand.
I'm not saying that anybody is creating oxygen out of nothing. I'm saying right now they're hauling it up from the surface of planet Earth, but at some point I'm sure they're going to work out a way to separate the carbon from the oxygen in the atmospheric CO2, release the oxygen back into the cabin, and dump the carbon all over Al Gore's beachfront property in Southern California.
Yeah, because you still need a heavy tank on your back to go underwater for an hour. So I mean, hauling air up there is a heavy payload. Two tanks for 2 hours. It is,
but if you a tank on your back when you're a scuba diver, it's not just oxygen; it's just compressed atmosphere. Whereas what is being hauled up to the space station is in fact pure oxygen, which is mixed in with the system and released that way. Plus the scuba tank on your back is intentionally heavy. Otherwise, it would float and keep you trapped on the surface.
Yeah, but pure oxygen is extremely explosive, and any type of, I don't know. I would like to get something that explains the fresh air system for space travel, because I'm really having a problem with it as far as, going anywhere in space requires air, and you cannot go without it for too long. I would really like to. Is there any books you can read? Do you know anything that talks about?
Not off the top of my head. It's been since the 1970s that I worked with any of this stuff here. But first of all, pure oxygen by itself is not explosive. It's not even flammable. What it does do is allow other materials to become much more flammable and explosive, as they discovered, unfortunately, on Apollo 1. But that's why all of our manned spacecraft have a 2-gas system where there's nitrogen plus oxygen, so that the fire hazard is reduced.
Okay, well, thanks for taking my call.
All right, you got it. I miss the space program, I really do. I'm glad we're getting back out there. Okay. Story. Apparently, a pregnant mother used an AR-15 to kill a home intruder after 2 men burst into her Florida home, pistol whipped her husband, and grabbed their 11-year-old daughter. And obviously, this is a case for why people should be allowed to have these kind of weapons in their home. And it's a reminder that women who are pregnant are in the grip of very, very powerful protective instincts, and you do not want to mess with them. Good for her. Now, you've been hearing in recent months about the opioid crisis, and there is no question there is an opioid crisis, and it's been exacerbated ever since the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, restarted the poppy farms, and started bringing the opium back to the United States for the drug lords and for the pharmaceutical companies. And pharmaceutical companies got the doctors to write prescriptions for these highly addictive painkillers. And there is a crisis out there. But there's another drug crisis that is taking hold right now, and it's called Meth 2.0. And apparently it's a methamphetamine that has become very, very dangerous because it's being refined to what they describe as Breaking Bad levels of purity. So don't mess around. What can I tell you? All right, NASA's Voyager 2 probe sends back its first discoveries from interstellar space 42 years after blasting off from Earth, providing valuable clues about the structure of the solar system. 42 years. Has it really been that long? I remember seeing the Voyagers being assembled at JPL in their spacecraft assembly facility. Now it's outside the solar system. And apparently Voyager 2 has detected a jump in the density of plasma, which is charged particles and gas, found around the probe, and evidence of the probe making its way from home to hot, lower density plasma characteristic of the solar wind to the cold, higher density plasma of interstellar space. Saw the same thing with Voyager 1 as well. So, the human race are now interstellar travelers. I think that's very cool. Send more Chuck Berry. Old joke. All right, over in the Philippines, they have now had 3 major quakes in Mindanao, killing 17, injuring hundreds, and displacing over 140,000 people. And Philippine seismologists are saying this may not be over, that major quakes will continue to jolt the southern Philippines through at least the Christmas season. Saying this is obviously an earthquake swarm and it could last for months. Big fear is that there is a larger quake yet to come. Now, the Philippines' deadliest quake occurred in 1976 in Mindanao, a 7.9 Richter scale tremor that caused a tsunami that killed 8,000 across the 700-kilometer stretch of Mindanao. Another article about earthquakes, this one from Investment Watch blog, talking about how seismic activity in the United States seems to be accelerating. And during the last 7 days, there's been an earthquake swarm directly along the New Madrid fault zone, Kansas and Oklahoma. And they're being hit with an unusual number of significant quakes. Now, the New Madrid fault zone, let me get my bearings again, basically is over that away. Concern because of the increasing seismicity around the Yellowstone supervolcano, which if that blows, we will definitely get some of the ash and effect here in Indiana. So they're asking, is all this seismic activity leading up to something big? Well, sooner or later, you're going to get something big. I remember when Claire and I went through the Northridge quake, we thought that was the big one. And as it turned out, it wasn't. But it was big enough. We lost about half of everything that we had in that one. Okay, let's go to the phones here. David in Northwest Arkansas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha to you there, Mike. You're talking about the New Madrid fault there, and I just figured I'd jump in here because that's pretty close to where we are. We're not too far away from that, from where you're at, and I'm not too far away from that. That's in Northwest Arkansas, southern Missouri, western Tennessee. And when that went The last time, oh my goodness, it was a big event. It had the Mississippi River flowing backwards. It was so big. It was probably the biggest quake that we've had in the continental United States, bigger than the stuff out in California. And the cycle that we're on, we're way overdue for the big one.
Well, we definitely are. The reason it didn't create the impact in history that other quakes did was at the time the big one hit the New Madrid Fault. It was a very sparsely settled area. I think there was a total of like 3 communities got wiped out. As you say, the Mississippi River flowed backward. But other than that, there just wasn't anything for it to knock down. Today, of course, it's very, very different. I wouldn't say the area is highly populated, at least where we are, but definitely. And just because you live in the middle of the country doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared to deal with an earthquake. You won't get them as large and as often as you do out in California. But again, having some stored water and storable food, the basic supplies, battery-operated radio, spare batteries, and so forth, just makes sense.
No, absolutely it does. You know, we have to be prepared for that kind of stuff. And I lived out in California just after the Northridge quake. I didn't get to witness the main event, but aftershocks, we were definitely feeling that. And while we were in southwest Tennessee, there was some activity on the New Madrid Fault that was felt there. And I felt enough earthquakes that, you know, it gets your attention, though, because you're used to the ground being solid underneath your feet. And that's not the case pretty much anywhere in the world, because this is a very dynamic system that's floating on this, you know, molten metal. I mean, it's a really amazing thing, this planet that we're on, and we've barely even begun to explore this. And hey, I'm a space exploration nut myself, and I'm glad we're getting out there into interstellar space. I mean, there's so many more awesome, majestic things that we could be doing right now to further the knowledge of mankind. Instead, we're having to fight all of this nonsense from the left-right paradigm and all this childish bickering between all this crap with all the bankers, while we're distracted, stealing everything from us. That's basically what's going on. I'd rather be exploring the world than exploring the universe. Anyway, that's all I got, Mike.
I think most people would. And I noticed that JPL came on out attacking Dr. Gilbert Levin for saying that we discovered life on Mars back in 1976. And they're saying, we did not. There's no life on Mars. Go back to your millstone, slaves. And a lot of things get hidden from us out of concerns for maintaining the status quo, maintaining the economy, maintaining the wars, pleasing various politicians. And
because the status quo is such a good thing. It is sickening. The status quo is such a good thing. We need to maintain that. I think we've had enough of that. Rinse and repeat. How about we change the page and get onto something new? Because there's a whole world and a whole galaxy to explore, and I would be really happy to be able to put down all of this fighting amongst each other and get together and be able to do things like that, because wow, the future of humanity could be a really grand, awesome thing. Instead, we're being self-destructive. It's sad. It breaks my heart, Mike.
It does. And you sort of look back and realize on the work you've done in science, how much of it did get perverted in the interests of pursuing war and profits and so forth. And it's very, very, very sad.
Yeah, it is. We spend more energy finding new and innovative ways to kill, harm, torture, rape and pillage each other than spending the time solving problems. If we had changed the paradigm around where we're working on the good things instead, all these problems that we have would go away in very short order. There's enough of us working collaboratively to overcome something. Maybe it's going to take some massive thing like this big asteroid coming for us that's, half the size of the moon, and we only have, 5 years to figure this out, or all of us are dead. Maybe something like that could bring us together. But short of that, I just don't see how it can happen. And like I said, it breaks my heart. Anyway, I'm going to let you get back to your show, Mike. Have a good one. Thanks for doing what you're doing out there.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Now, speaking of the perversion of science, the global warming cultists are still out there pushing this hoax. that humans are warming the planet. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. It's a Monday. What can I tell you? So they're still out there pushing this 97% consensus, even though that's now been discredited completely. But again, they're not interested in the truth. They really aren't. They're interested in what they can sell you. They're interested in what you can be convinced to buy into, what you can be convinced to believe in, so that they can extract money and control from you. That's it. If they thought they could convince you that Bigfoot was about to come out of the forest and eat us all unless we turned our money over to the government, that's what they'd be pushing. Okay, we got to take a break here for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mark, is this
the U.S. stealing oil out of Syria for the U.S., or are they stealing out of Syria for Israel?
Could be either one. They could just be stealing it out of Syria and selling it to anybody who'll buy it.
Well, the reason I asked is, Trump was going to pull out, and then Netanyahu said, not so fast, you need to protect certain areas. And so I thought that was probably the oil fields. And, Israel's got a history of stealing oil out of Syria anyway from the Golan Heights. And, they're doing it every day. They are stealing oil and water. And there's people that think now that the attack on the USS Liberty was to keep the intelligence ship from finding out that Israel went in and took the Golan Heights after the war was over. In '67, they said the war was over, and then they kind of pretended like they took it during the war, but they took it after the war, and they wanted to cover that up. So they attacked the Liberty, and because they knew that the Liberty would be a witness to them taking it. Is that the way you understood it?
Well, I understand that Israel was concerned that the USS Liberty was documenting Israeli atrocities against Syrians. As far as protecting the secret that the Golan Heights were actually seized after the war was over, that's pretty tough to cover up. My understanding is that Israel's primary reason to attack the USS Liberty was to sink it, frame Egypt for it, and thereby trick the United States into the war on Israel's side against Egypt. And there was, in fact, an airstrike launched by the United States against Cairo that was recalled when the Liberty's radio operators succeeded in getting a signal out saying, we're being attacked by Israeli forces.
Yeah, just like anything else, there was a dual purpose to it. One to cover things up and one to enable a false flag.
Oh, I'm sure when somebody's going to do something like this, everybody's going to say, how can I use this for what my agenda is? What can I get out of this? And so you'll have a bunch of people jumping on board, and each of them has a different agenda, but the end result is the same. A lot of Americans got killed.
Exactly. But, I don't even call U.S. The U.S. anymore, United States. I call it the Zionist States of America. And I don't understand everything that goes on at the top levels of this government. But, we got all these dual citizens, and every one of them, to me, is got Israel first and the U.S. second, and the U.S. is only a, host for the parasite. And there's always this double standard, like Russia interfere with the elections, and of course, Israel never does, so do I hear some music there, Mike?
Yeah, we got to take a break here for station identification. So thank you for the phone call, and we're going to let you go. We'll be right back with Hour 3.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And I was just responding here. Apparently, we are under what's called a boil alert here in Santa Claus. And so I'm just sending a thank you. Okay, we're done there. Alrighty, so we're talking about climate change, which is what they're trying to convince you was the exact thing they meant back when they were screaming about global warming, which didn't happen. And over in New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo, with a straight face on MSNBC, said that they never had hurricanes on planet Earth before climate change. Well, technically, I guess you could say he's correct if you go back about 3 billion years, but that's not what he's saying. He's out there saying that human-caused climate change is why all of a sudden we're getting hurricanes and tornadoes and just ignoring centuries of recorded history. All righty. And here's some more recorded history nobody wants to talk about. There has been no warming for the past 18 years. It's been getting gradually cooler and cooler and cooler, and it's going to do the same again this year. Right now, down in Australia, even though this is their springtime, they're having record cold down there. 100-plus year cold records are being broken down in Australia. Now, Greta Thunberg is starting to draw a lot of criticism and indeed more than a little bit of ridicule over her histrionics for climate change. And now Greta Thunberg is demanding Facebook silence her opponents. Greta wants Facebook to present only one side of the argument. She doesn't think you need to know there's another side. Talk about dictatorship. Oh, man, anyway. All right, the Keystone Pipeline has done exactly what experts predicted it would. It has spilled 383,000 gallons of oil in North Dakota. That's a lot. That's basically just under 10,000 barrels of oil. You're not really going to see this on the corporate media, of course. Those pipelines are precious. I'm convinced they could build a pipeline that works. They just don't want to spend the money. It's cheaper to build a cheap pipeline and just have the government clean up the mess when it leaks. Anyway, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and a lot of people are getting really antsy about this so-called real ID. And a lot of this goes back to the beginning of Social Security, where everybody in the country had an identical card with a Social Security number on it. And we were assured it wasn't to track us, it wasn't to keep watch on us, it was merely for the bookkeeping system. In fact, at one point there was actually a law saying that the Social Security number could not be used for any purposes other than collection of Social Security. And everybody started ignoring that law. The cyber criminals stepped on in and just made a mess of everything. And now a lot of institutions that were using the Social Security number, like driver's licenses, have gone off it. But they're still pushing forward on this Real ID. And we're coming up on having to get our driver's licenses and registration changed over. And I've already been told up front, you will have to take along your birth certificate, your passport, your existing driver's license, all this other stuff, or you will not get a Real ID compatible Indiana driver's license. It's an internal passport is what it is, just like the old Soviet Union used to have. Alrighty, Mozilla is asking Congress to investigate ISP's data collection practices. Everybody's collecting data because that data has become a very, very valuable commodity. And Mozilla's is just the latest in a burgeoning debate over DNS over HTTPS, with Mozilla deciding to encrypt its users' browsing data by default, and Google's Chrome soon enabling DOH by default if possible for a particular user. Now, we used to have something in this country called the Fourth Amendment, a respect for the right of privacy, and that's just gone away. We've seen several people in government just come forward and say, no, in this day and age, you have no right to privacy. You should have no expectation of privacy. The instant you pick up that cell phone or that tablet, it's all over. Privacy is gone. And from a technological point of view, they are correct. From a moral point of view, I don't think so. I think we should definitely have a right to privacy. We all have windows on our house. Doesn't mean people are welcome to just peek through the blinds, see what we're doing. More fallout from California. DirecTV and Comcast are being investigated by the Colorado Attorney General, Phil Weiser, who objects to the TV providers continuing to charge regional sports network scores despite not providing one of the major regional sports networks. Comcast is giving customers partial bill credits. DirecTV apparently is taking the attitude of, Okay, the Jeffrey Epstein story is still being kept alive, mostly by the independent media. Corporate media wants the story to go away. They want all the victims to go away. As time goes on, more and more people are being dragged into that circle of pedophilia and abuse. Already talked about support for impeachment has gone down in the latest poll. What a mess. What a mess. And down here, let's see. Major Russian TV documentary has exposed Soros and his meddling in U.S. elections. Oh, no, it's the Russians. It's the Russians. No, it's the Israelis. No, it's the Russians. If you say Israel meddles in our internal politics, you're just being an anti-Semite. Apparently, over 700 American doctors were given over $1 million apiece from Big Pharma to push drugs and devices. All about the money. It's all about the money. Michelle Obama is out there with this bizarre statement. So many people around the world feel like Barack Obama is their president. Now, there were rumors when he left the White House that he was considering a run for United Nations General Secretary. This feels like the first sort of trial bubble to see what the public response might be to that. And I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of Barack Obama being the UN General Secretary. Meanwhile, millions of Android device owners are warned to delete the emoji keyboard app AI.type that has tried to buy $18 million worth of premium content without the user's permission. Still, nobody does anything about all these cyber criminals out there. Okay. Pelosi is out there saying that the new trade deal is the easiest thing we've ever done. Republicans are saying, why is it taking so long? Apparently, Krispy Kreme is getting their dander up. Apparently, Krispy Kreme does not sell in all 50 states, and so young entrepreneurs are basically buying the donuts in one state and FedExing them across the border to a compatriot who resells them at a markup. And Krispy Kreme is saying, you shouldn't want to do that. Anyway, rents are falling in Southern California, Seattle, Miami, San Francisco, San Jose, Chicago, Honolulu, and others. Now they tell us. All right. Apparently, thousands of Iranians are chanting "Death to America" on the anniversary of the embassy takeover. Oh, we were very unkind to the Iranians. Okay. Too much on this desk here already. Apparently, somebody left some flyers on this college campus saying it's okay to be white. And it is. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be brown. It's okay to be red. It's okay to be white. But apparently, okay to be white. Oh, you're being racist here. I had a meltdown there here. A lot of people are drawing cartoons about Pelosi shifts new rules for impeachment. And some are very clever. It's basically, the GOP elephant is, tied up, hog-tied, got a board across its mouth, and the Democrat donkey has a witch's broom and hat. And that's really the way Schiff tried to set it up. He's creating a star chamber, or if you want to call it a kangaroo court. And he's going to try and convince you that anything that comes out of this star chamber is legitimate, just like they tried to do with the original star chamber. It wasn't. All righty. Apparently, for those of you who still have 3.5-inch floppy disks, for those of you in the military who are still on 8-inch floppy disks, there is yet another new data format storage device that's coming on out. And apparently it's called Project Silica, and it stored the entire Warner Brothers Superman movie on a single disc coaster, 75 by 75 by 2 millimeters thick. Now that's a very high data density, I will grant you. Downside of silica is it will shatter when you drop it. Okay, and over at Department of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is out there saying that it was the Obama State Department colluded with the Russian embassy to try and target Donald Trump. Is this really about Trump, or is this one bitter old woman's revenge? Because when you consider how little Donald Trump has done to carry out his agenda, how much he's caved in to the war party and big business, doesn't make sense they'd be after him with this kind of ferocity, unless it was personal to somebody. And the more I think about it, the more I think that's exactly what's going on. That it's personal. This is Hillary Clinton saying, get him out of there. I'm sure that if Trump is removed from office somehow, impeachment, 25th Amendment, assassination, that at that point, Hillary will announce she's running next year. More cartoons about the resolution impeachment. Tulsi Gabbard is out there saying, it's time to build a new Democratic Party. I sure agree with her on that one. It's time to get rid of these old fossils like Pelosi and these outright crooks like Schiff. It's time for the Democrats to go back to being the party that's anti-war, the party of the people, instead of trying to out GOP the GOP. Tulsi has also, of course, introduced that resolution to get us out of Syria, which I think is a really, really good thing. Now, this is just a little bizarre here. This is over at Natural News here. And they're talking about all these men who claim they can have periods like women do. And they'll paint the crotch of their jeans red and pose for a photo. Do they also believe they can have abortions? This country's gone nuts. It really, really, really has. Okay, out in Hollywood, my old stomping ground, the Hollywood assistants are in open revolt campaigning to improve pay and working conditions for assistants in the industry. Yeah, now I'm not a big fan of Hollywood unions. They were the bane of my career. But on the other hand, I've seen firsthand, I've experienced firsthand how poorly the assistants are being treated. The hummus recall that we talked about on Friday has been expanded in Great Britain over fears of salmonella. And this is an interesting article. This is out of Investment Watch blog, talking about how there is a direct connection between the age of central banking and the age of endless wars. They do kind of line up, don't they? They do kind of line up. Okay. Lord of the Rings star Sir Ian McKellen is out there saying that he doesn't see Brexit happening anytime soon. In fact, he sees he'll be dead before it happens. I'm afraid he's right, and I like Ian McKellen. But the EU's not going to let this happen. A little bit of good news for the space race. Apparently, NASA has flown an oven cookie to the space station, so the astronauts can make fresh-baked chocolate chip cookies in zero gravity. I'm sure there's some scientific justification for this in order to justify the money spent, first of all, building this oven. Maybe it's centrifugal, that it spins to keep the blob of dough against the heating element, so they can get the cookies that way. But I still think it's cool, and I'm sure the astronauts are going to definitely enjoy the space cookies here. Former KPMG director has been linked to Jeffrey Epstein, Madam Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently has been accused of grooming a 14-year-old model to be his slave and subjected her to sadomasochistic sex and dungeons. We have some very sick people in positions of power and authority in our society. Reminds me of the old Tom Lehrer song, The Masochism Blues. And apparently NBC is being threatened with a lawsuit for reporting on facial recognition technology being used against Palestinians. And apparently CNN is busying itself exposing Trump's Twitter typos. This is now what counts for news over at CNN. All right, there's going to be a brutally cold air mass unleashing over the Northeast next week. There's a brutally cold air mass already over the Pacific Northwest. I've been following it on satellite. That one may actually reach down to here. They're expecting rain and snow here in Indiana on Thursday. According to a poll published in, Bethesda, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden are now tied for first place if Hillary steps on in. I don't believe it for 1 second. What we keep hearing from interviews of Democrats is that she's no longer relevant, her time has passed. Kamala Harris is calling Buttigieg naive for thinking it's only a two-way race for the Democratic nomination. And in a way, she's right. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And looking back at some of the economic news, apparently freight railroad traffic plunged 8% at the end of October. Now, that is significant because this is the time of year when stores are beginning to stock up on what they hope to sell during the holiday shopping season. So the fact that the rail traffic is down is saying they're not placing orders. They're not expecting it to be a great holiday season. They'll tell you it's a holiday season. They're going to whip you up into a buying frenzy, you know, for Black Friday. We're already seeing it in the commercials, the pre-Black Friday sale. And again, it's all about getting more money out of you. Okay, we're going to take a phone call from Daniel in British Columbia. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. I wanted to touch on someone who is calling themselves a transgender individual, and they've gotten quite famous or infamous lately. They were quite well known here in BC. This person got or tried to get an organizing party for 12-year-old girls to have a topless pool party.
I remember reading
Now,
about
that's
that.
pretty. Yeah, that's pretty out there. Lately, she was. When I say she, I mean a he that calls herself a he. They go by the name of Jonathan Yanif, and it's this Jewish individual who's known as Jessica.
Okay.
That's Jessica Yanif. And she was recently outed for trying to go to the BC Human Rights Tribunal, and she lost her case because these, I don't know what the term is, I guess, esthetician, people that wax
Yes.
your hair, and she lost. So she's got to pay $2,000 each to about 5 different Vietnamese women that she dragged through the courts, the BC Human Rights Tribunal. Ricky Gervais, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a comedian.
Yes.
He was just sort of ostracized on Twitter for making fun of her, saying that he was going to go as her as Halloween, a costume for Halloween. Basically, this guy's been outed for being on this website and saying that things like they fantasize about going to bathroom and changing pads, which are tampons.
Yes.
And asking questions like, do girls ever change outside of stalls? She showed up at a little kind of, I guess it's a fashion show for little kids.
Yes.
And the organizer tried to kick her out. So this person is just, I don't know, they're just right out there. That just seems like, you know, this whole issue of being able to go into bathrooms here in the city of Vancouver. They've got these big signs that were made by the city of, oh, you're inclusive now and come welcome, you know, have fun while you're at the pool. And, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, just enjoy the pool and use either change room.
Yes.
So as you can imagine, the media doesn't really talk about this, but this individual, to me, it's not indicative of all of them, but this is just a scary, slippery slope.
Yes. Well, the problem I have.
I don't know. I just thought I'd.
No, you've hit on an important point. You know, I'm a very much live and let live kind of guy, and if somebody wants to say I'm transgender, fine. Where they've crossed the line is where they're trying to force their way into other people's personal space and say, you will recognize that I'm actually a woman. You will not dare question when I say I'm actually a woman. And that, I think, is probably going to be very upsetting to a lot of people, regardless of how they personally feel about transgenders. It's just that intrusiveness, that idea that, you know, they must comply. Resistance is futile.
Yes, and this BC tribunal, you can find the results of it. Like, they actually published the entire document for the refusal. And there's a part where the tribunal asked her, because she went to one of these waxing people, they said, you asked her to wax your vulva. And they said, they're not going to wax your vulva because you don't have a vulva.
Yes.
And her answer was, yes, I'm not going to say whether I have the whole thing. I'll just say it exists. So, and I'm like you, Michael, I really don't care what people do in the privacy of their own lives. But this is, when it comes to children, I've got a 2-year-old now.
Yeah.
And my wife is going to school to become a teacher. And they're forcing her, my wife, to be, you know, to not even use he and her and him and so forth.
All right, well,
ridiculous.
Daniel, stay on the line. We got to take a break for commercials. Stay on the line. We're going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Daniel in British Columbia. And Daniel, you were starting to tell us about how your wife is a teacher and how she is being basically pressured to reshape her language to avoid certain words.
First day of school for becoming a teacher, she had to visit the local Indian reservation here and meet someone who was called a two-spirit. So this is like a transgender native person. And she has like practice classes, and the practice classes that she have about, one of them had 3 transgender children that were in grade 8, like they were non-binary, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I just thought that's just scary. And one more note about this Jessica Yaniv. There's a transgender activist who is involved with the BC government here, And even they said that this Jessica Yaniv was leaning on predatory and sort of pedophilia. And coming from an actual other transgender, it's pretty hard hitting, I think.
Well,
So I think we're going to start seeing more of this sort of thing.
I think for most transgenders, this kind of extreme behavior, they realize it's damaging their public image. And that they're going to need they need a positive public image, and they're not going to get it with this kind of behavior. They're not going to get it by taking our old classic movie and TV characters and recasting them as transgender or gay or whatever, because people are going to feel it's being shoved down their neck. They're not being convinced and persuaded that this is okay. They're literally being told that this is what you will do. This is what it means, and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a backlash in Canada. The Trudeau government made it illegal, well, against the law, for any government official to refer to someone as Mr. and Mrs. on the telephone now. And I think there's a backlash, and they've just asked for it. I mean, if you give you an inch, you got your pride parades, and a lot of LGBTQ people, they don't really, they have the same rights as everyone else. I don't see them being hung or, you know what I mean? It's not like we're told, like the media, it just goes on and on about how they're, ostracized. And I just don't see it. I mean, I see them all over the place, and they're normal people for the most part. They, live and breathe, but it's like whether they're being not employed or getting the glass ceiling. I mean, people, it's hard to say. It's almost like the affirmative action that you have in the United States.
Yeah.
They're getting hired because they're transgender. Whether they're qualified or not.
Yeah,
Anyways, I'll leave you with that.
All right, they've become the new protected minority. All right, well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And getting on back to the news here, we were talking about the economy. We were talking about PG&E. And apparently, hedge funds that were invested in PG&E lost $4.1 billion in just 4 trading days. Now, I don't know who's in charge of these hedge funds, but had that been me, when this most recent series of wildfires broke out and there was even a hint of a PG&E power line behind it all, I would have started dumping the stock right at that point. They've definitely kissed off a lot of money here. Let's see. Twitter suspends the Cleveland Browns safety Jeremiah Whitehead after he threatened to shoot fans. Over in Los Angeles County, homeless death rates jump by more than 1/3. And again, it brings up the question, what do they do with the bodies? Is there a giant potter's field for all these homeless who are dying in the streets? And there's going to be a lot of them this winter. Or are they being commercially exploited? Okay. Another story out of Investment Watch blog. Impeach them all. The F-35 bipartisan boondoggle is the real crime. And yeah, it is. It's a classic case of military-industrial complex waste. Most expensive aircraft R&D, and it's produced a piece of junk. Absolutely piece of junk. So Buttigieg is still out there saying that the Democratic primary is moving toward a two-way race between him and Warren, which will probably be true until Hillary steps on in. Apparently that university over in Oklahoma has called in the police to investigate these flyers that say it's okay to be white. Say it may be a hate crime, which is absurd here. Okay, pardon me. Trump's use of social media has destroyed the Dems' ability to control the narrative through the corrupt legacy media, which is why they want to limit free speech. And they're already out there trying to sell this, that this is something people want. Oh yeah, your fellow Americans, they want speech to be controlled. They want the First Amendment to go away. They would be so much happier if they didn't have to burden their mind with the truth. So, PolitiFact gives Nikki Haley a mostly false rating for saying the Green New Deal candidates suggested abortion as population control. You about the pharmaceutical thing. Again, Tulsi Gabbard is not doing a third-party run. Alrighty. The left is promising they're going to save the United States with selfies and memes. We got a phone call about this last Friday. Was there another reason for the electricity shutdowns in California? I don't think so. I lived in Southern California long enough to know these fires occur on a regular basis, and it's always after a prolonged period where money is diverted away from maintaining the fire break roads and spent elsewhere. And so it just builds up this huge, dry overburden that is just ready to explode. Okay. Apparently there was a kid sent to the ER and was put into isolation because he was unvaccinated. And the parents are furious about this treatment because he didn't have any illnesses. He just hadn't had the vaccines. So they put him in isolation. It's really ridiculous. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. All right, polls are showing that this impeachment effort is actually going to help Trump in the swing states. And Nancy Pelosi is already out there saying that the Democrats' left-wing base could cost them the election. Yeah, if they go on behaving the way they've been behaving. Turning off everybody. Okay. Pardon me. MSNBC is still out there pushing the story that Donald Trump has been laundering money for Russia for the last 30 years. No proof, no evidence, just take our word for it. We wouldn't lie to you. We're a major TV news network. Okay. Apparently, a top Senate Democrat has been arrested as Trump attorney rounds up corrupt politicians in Chicago. Well, that would be good. Apparently, an ex-Navy SEAL talking about military dogs on Fox News blurts out Epstein did not kill himself at the end of his interview. This idea that you could hang yourself on your knees, ridiculous. I think Epstein's still alive. I think he's in Israel, or he's down in the Caymans playing canasta with Ken Lay. But they're certainly maintaining his little Caribbean island paradise as if they're expecting somebody to be back in residence somewhere down the road. All righty. CNN's anti-Trump obsession is backfiring. The ratings continue to drop as Americans are tired of the absurdity. I won't even turn them on anymore. I won't turn them on anymore at all. Steve Bannon is out there saying Joe Biden is the hand grenade, Hunter Biden is the pin. The shrapnel is going to blow back all over the Democratic Party. And yeah, it probably will. Ilhan Omar was at a Bernie Sanders rally saying, "I am beyond honored and excited for a president who will fight against Western imperialism." Apparently, the corporate media has known who that secret whistleblower is for some time, but just didn't want you to know because he'd also been part of the Russiagate hoax. So he was a known liar. I already talked about General Flynn and how the judge is seriously, apparently, considering just dropping all the charges. Okay. Apparently, police stations are being forbidden to display what's called the thin blue line flag. And this is the American flag, but down at the bottom, there's a thin blue line representing the police force. And its symbolism is that police force is what keeps us stable, but they're being told not to fly it because it's dismissive of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is out there pushing this idea that the police are targeting the black people out there. Trump has responded to the Fox News poll showing almost half the country wants him impeached, saying it's clearly false news. And I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree. Using those public polls, those media polls, to try and manipulate you, to try and get you to go along with the herd instinct. 95% of Americans think you should rub blue mud in your navel. By the way, I own stock in the Blue Mud Company. Okay. About Beto's dropping out of the presidential race. Flashback to Senator Schumer warning the newly elected Trump, if you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. And this seems to be what's going on now here. Okay, we talked about the meth here. Now, this is talk about a bad payment. McDonald's just fired their British CEO, Steve Easterbrook, from his $16 million a year job over him supposedly having an affair with an employee that violates company rules. This is the guy who turned around the fortunes of McDonald's in Great Britain. Oh boy, you offend those Me Tooers and you are gone, 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 gone. Okay, we got that, we got that. Apparently, Jared Kushner gave the Saudi prince permission to arrest Jamal Khashoggi before he was killed. And Turkey intercepted the call and used it to force Trump to leave Syria. That's the latest story there. Okay, President Clinton committed 11 crimes per the independent counsel for which he was impeached. President Trump so far has committed nothing. Everybody's screaming about what he's been doing, but he hasn't done anything that rises to the level of a high crime or misdemeanor. And the Democrats are just making themselves look foolish with this. Anyway. So apparently the House Democrats now claim to have 7 whistleblowers who will say really, really bad things about the President of the United States of America. All righty. There we go. Talked about JP Morgan. Talked about, by the way, a lot of people are scratching their head. Tulsi Gabbard voted for the impeachment rules. The reason she gave is she wanted people to see what they were and be transparent. Those rules will never pass muster. If it goes to the Supreme Court Court's going to say, of course, this is not what impeachment is supposed to be. The rules for impeachment are spelled out in the Constitution. So, okay, over in Georgia, I'm sorry, not Georgia. This bipartisan law targets Google and its rivals to end secret online search algorithms that critics say censor political speech and manipulate users. Yeah, we got to stop that from happening. We got to figure out a way to communicate amongst ourselves peer-to-peer without fear of censorship or filtering or bias. And I know that in the back shadows, people are working on this very problem right now. Apparently down in Florida, an Amazon Alexa could be used to prosecute a case there. But they're saying, is there probable cause here? Is there, in fact, probable cause? Okay, we're coming up here on our last commercial break. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these these remaining holes reveal what's really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today. Now, Uber has been having some problems with their self-driving cars. They killed that pedestrian out in Arizona. They've had a whistleblower come forward saying the vehicles really aren't safe, no matter what Uber tells you that they are. So the reason this is becoming a concern is Uber, like so many other companies, now wants to use delivery drones. Uber wants to start a drone food delivery service using self-piloted, pilotless drones. And like so many other things we've seen in our society, this is a technology that's being put out into the marketplace without really being fully vetted as being safe. Okay, theaters, under guidelines from the Actors Equity Union, will ban the phrase "ladies and gentlemen." I don't know what they're going to say. You and them. This one, that one, that one, and all the rest of you. Hey, gang. Alrighty, restaurant debt braces for a record as the industry growth slows. People don't have the money to eat out here. And Verizon is installing approximately 1,000 4G and 5G smart poles in California, Colorado, and Ohio, and Utah, despite increasing lawsuits. Another article, this one again from Investment Watch blog. The illegal immigration is the reason California is burning, and it's certainly contributory. So, the lefties are declaring a meme war on Donald Trump. Say, express your meme outrage against Donald Trump. Just get on out there. Another article here saying that Clinton is entering the president run race in 2020. Beto, Kamala, Booker, and Biden drop out. I think this article's a little out of date. To the best of my knowledge, Biden hasn't yet officially dropped out. But anyway. Okay, and next. Yeah, we talked about the additional fires that have been traced to PG&E towers, and plea that we save our anger for PG&E's top management and we leave the rank and file workers alone. That's actually good advice. It's not really their fault. They just do what they're told to do here. Apparently, after this unauthorized house party at an Airbnb out in California, they are now banning party houses, saying you cannot have an unauthorized party in one of our Airbnb properties. Oh, here's the music. Okay. That's the end of our show, and just in time because I'm exhausted. Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please support RBN. Please support whatreallyhappened.com. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.